There were three main reasons that drew me to tiny house living. One was simply the inspiration I had to create the space. Even before I got down and made the decision to build this tiny house, I knew exactly what I wanted it to look like, how I wanted it to feel, and the materials I was going to use, the colors I was going to choose. So the clarity of this vision was so strong, I knew that I had to bring it to life. I was also living downtown on a really busy road. It was super loud, and I just kept getting this insight that I wanted to live amongst the trees. So I set into motion to leave busy downtown and to build a tiny house and to go live amongst the trees. And last but not least, I really want to simplify my life in all ways. I wanted to reduce the amount of stuff I had in my home and narrow it down to the things that I really loved and actually brought value to my life. My monthly mortgage was really high and I wasn't really feeling attached to the traditional way of living, so that's when I started to design my tiny house, and I went from living in a 2,000 square foot home to a 320 square foot tiny house. I love to design and create, so the actual design process of bringing this vision to life was where I had the most fun. The build process, however, was a complete nightmare, and I definitely wasn't prepared for all the challenges that would come up, but it made me a stronger person in the end. One of the things that I was concerned about going from a normal sized house to tiny house living was that I was going to have to surrender some of the things that I really loved. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that everything that I loved and valued fit into the tiny house, and I actually even have some extra room for storage, which I was not expecting at all. I was super intentional during the design process to make sure I was maximizing every square inch of the space that I had available in the tiny house. So between the staircase and the bathroom wall, I squeezed in a little office nook. I'm an entrepreneur, I love to create, and I often work from home, so this space is definitely an essential need for me. I like my spaces to feel bright and inspiring, but I also love to play with richer, darker tones. So in the bathroom, I continued that theme, and I've got more of a zen, inspirational feeling on this side. And then on this side, I got to express the darker tones with the charcoal gray tiles and the black shower head and black faucet. Now this shower head is one of my favorite pieces in the whole tiny house because it's actually LED lit based on the temperature of the water. So when the water's cold, it'll be blue, when it's warm, it's green, and when it's hot, it's red. So if I ever have a shower at night, I turn off the main lighting and just allow the ambient glow from the LEDs to light the experience. One of the things I did have to give up when I moved into a tiny house was my bath, and that was a really hard thing to let go of because that was my main source of self-love at the time. I would have a bath every day, and it would be such an amazing space for meditation and relaxation. Now I love my kitchen. I got everything my little heart desired in terms of design, in terms of function, in terms of storage, so I'm really glad that I decided to put the kitchen on one end of the tiny house and allocate so much more room for it because I spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I do a lot of prep. I cook almost all my meals from home. I even grow my own sprouts, so having ample room to move around and prep and host was something that I knew I really wanted to create space for. I was really blessed to attract landowners that put in a lot of time, energy, and money to get me the services that I needed to live the way that I want to live in a tiny house. I have full electrical service, 50 amps, I have sewer, and I have water. I decided to put the washer-dryer combo unit in the kitchen so that the space above it would be used for kitchen counter space. And so that just gives me more prep space and more space for my kitchen appliances. I use my juicer every day, I use my kettle every day, and I definitely use my Vitamix every day. Even down here where it's just supposed to be a toe kick, I put in a little junk drawer, which again, I don't know where I would have had room for my scale and batteries and all those other kind of little random things that even when you live tiny, you need space for. So now let's go up the stairs and take a look at the social loft, which is technically a living room, but I call it the social loft. This room's always been my favorite in the house for some reason. I think because it's so multifunctional. It acts as my living room. This is also where guests stay when they sleep over. It's where I do most of my meditation, my nighttime routine. So I just really love the space, and this is also where all my pets come and cuddle me. So it's a really special, peaceful place that I really enjoy spending my time. When I was designing the tiny house, I wanted there to be a ton of natural lighting. So there's windows on all the walls, literally anywhere I could fit a window I did. And then I also have a 4-foot by 4-foot skylight in either of the lofts. So not only does that bring in a lot of natural light, it also gives a lot more headroom up here. The only regret I have is I cheaped out when I was buying the skylights, and I didn't get the opening ones because they're a couple $100 more. And at that time, the budget was just going way overboard and I had to pull back on something. So I cut out the opening skylight, and I really regret that because it would be so nice to have fresh air circulating up here. Definitely get skylights that open, guys. Na, 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 na. I don't know why I'm singing Christmas songs right now, but... So this is my sleeping loft, my bedroom, and I'm super glad again that I put the skylight up here because falling asleep to nature, the sound of the wind, the sound of the rain, seeing the stars, it's amazing. Now that I live alone, the space feels perfect. In fact, there's areas I don't even use. Like over here, I have this whole bottom shelf that has nothing on it. But when I was living with my partner, the bedroom was definitely one of the most challenging things because one of us would sleep on this side, the ladder's on the other side, and there's only a 3-foot ceiling height. So we'd have to climb over each other without trying to wake the other person up, climb down a ladder, and then go to the washroom, climb back up, climb over the person, and try to get back to bed. So that was basically an impossible task, and we were constantly waking each other up. While I'm on the topic of relationships, I think this is a really good time to touch base on the impact that living in such a small space can have on your relationship. Are you used to spending that much time with your partner? Literally from every angle of every part of the home, you can see your partner, so there's no space. So I think if you both work outside the house and you both have an active social circle, that it could work. So one thing Jeff and I did to create more space was create what we called the pod. So I'm gonna take you guys over here through a fun little hop across some stumps into the separate space we created. So now that I am single and on my own, I don't really feel like I need this extra space. It was really nice to have while being in a partnership, but being one person, I feel like the tiny house is more than enough for my needs. But since this is here, it's already built, it's already paid for, I do use it in the morning for my morning stretching and my morning routine, but outside of that, I'm not really using it and I'm actually trying to sell it. Part of the reason I went tiny was to live a minimalistic life, and I don't really feel like having a secondary dwelling is honoring the minimalistic life very well. I feel like I've overcome most of the downfalls to tiny house living, which in full transparency is adjusting to Mother Nature. She is one hell of a beast when she wants to be, and sometimes it's hard to get to bed with the rain pouring on the skylights and my bed being so close to the skylights. After having my pipes freeze a couple times, I finally had someone come by and heat tape them and insulate them so they're constantly being warmed in cold weather, and hopefully they won't freeze again because that is not something I want to return to. The things I'm most grateful about tiny house living would have to be this serene property that I've attracted. I'm so grateful to the landowners who put all the time and money and energy into making this property possible for me to live on. The second thing I love most about tiny house living would definitely be the sustainability and the affordability, which is I think a reason most people get into tiny house living. Thank you for watching my tiny house tour, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope if you're working on your own design project that aspects of my project inspired you. If you have any questions about tiny house living, please post them in the comments below. I'd love to help you out. There's a lot that goes into the design process, and I would highly recommend giving your space and attention to that process, because once you finalize the design and you hand that off to a contractor, any changes you make at that point are going to be really expensive. As always, if you liked the video, please press like, subscribe, let me know what other kind of content you want to hear. By liking and subscribing, you really help me to grow my channel, and I'm super appreciative of that. So that's it for today. Bye bye.